Hi, and welcome to the Virgin River Cafe Rewatch podcast. Hey, Gigi, how's it going?
Hey Tracy, it's going well, my dear. It's going well.
How's your week been?
My week's been busy.
Me too. Me
And
too.
it's good that it's at the end.
Yes, the weekend is here. We could take a few minutes, maybe if we can find some, relax,
Mm-hmm.
chill, sleep in a little, maybe if that's possible.
Oh, I'm counting on that.
Right? Oh my gosh, I know.
All right.
So what's your caffeinated beverage today?
What's my choice today? I've decided to go with a Vietnamese coffee.
Ah, we're back on the Vietnamese
Going for the
again.
strong stuff.
Yeah.
End the week with a bang.
I went with a caramelized coffee. I haven't had caramel in a minute. I've been doing the
Mm,
brown sugar and the cinnamon dolce and all of that, and I
mm.
decided to just go with a basic caramelized coffee. Got a
Caramel
little.
is your
I
favorite
do
is
love
one of your
caramel.
favorites.
I do.
Oh,
I love caramel. I
really
got
good.
some cold foam on top, a little special,
Oh yeah,
because I
and you
love a
know
little
how to make
special.
it.
Good
Yeah,
stuff. That'll get me through because
yeah.
I might need a second one later. I have a feeling it's gonna be that kind of day. So I'm
As
prepping for it
as
now, and
oh,
we're gonna go with it.
okay,
All
sounds like a
right,
plan.
all right. Well, let's get started.
We're in season 5, episode 5, Trial by Fire. This
Ooh,
has more than one meaning,
yeah, yeah,
as
yeah,
we
yeah.
will see.
There's a trial and there's a
So,
fire, so I think that pretty much sums it up.
mhm.
As danger closes in, Jack, Hope, and other residents take action. A discovery puts Mel on edge. Bree sees a
Mm,
friendly face after a tense day in court. There's a lot going on in this episode. All
you
right.
said it.
So we start off with lovely scenery and Kaya. Oh, well, look at that, Miss Kaya. Her and Preacher had a little sleepover. Isn't that nice?
Hmm.
And Preacher, the lovely host that he is, he's bringing
Hmm.
coffee. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, do you have coffee? My hero." And he's like, "Oh no, not just coffee." Cuz she's looking sleepy and he's already up ready to go. And she's like, "My hero." And he's like, "It's called Cafe de Ola." Ole, oh, I don't know, whatever it is. It's some kind of special coffee. And I mean, girlfriend just wants a cup of coffee. And she's looking at it like, what the heck did you make me, dude? I just want a freaking cup of coffee. Like, it's
Okay,
morning. I
so
just,
this reminds me of you and me.
yeah,
Basically, you like the frills and the fun, and me, I just want a black coffee, and I'm good to go.
right.
Or cappuccino or an espresso.
But
Nothing fancy, just
it's so
bare
sweet of
necessity.
him, though, to make her something special that she doesn't even,
Yes.
like, she may not even know how to pronounce, but very sweet. But she's
Yep.
looking at this thing like, what the heck is it? And he's like, it's Mexican coffee made by brewing
Oh, I love
coffee
Mexican
in
coffee.
what is that? Olla?
Yeah.
In a ceramic jar with cinnamon and I don't know, some other stuff. And she's like, okay, got it. Yeah, we get it. You're fancy. It's fine. Like, she doesn't care. And she goes, oh, that's some black coffee magic right there.
All I can tell you is my recent trip for work, I literally had Mexican coffee every single day. It was the
You were
best thing.
you were in
Oh
Mexico.
my, oh my
So
God. It
yeah,
was the best thing. Oh, it was
authentic.
fabulous. Oh, it was I didn't even bother with brew stuff. I tasted the brew stuff and it was like
No, no. If
awful.
you're there and it's there for you, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't
I
fight
had
it. Just
I
embrace the coffee.
and to tell you how bad it was, I even ordered room service to have it at lunchtime as well.
I would have
It
been
was
drinking it
that
all day long.
it was that good.
Yeah,
I was
absolutely.
like, I'm here. It's part of the service. I am having
Oh
this.
yeah.
That and the avocados.
Oh yeah.
Let me don't even get me started. Yeah, I
Big
was
as a
all over
baby's
that.
head. I know.
Anyway,
They're so good.
so yeah.
So Kaya is loving her some black coffee magic right there. And
Mm-hmm.
brought to her by this lovely man.
Mm-hmm.
She's so cute. She's like, "You're good at everything you do." And she's like, "Oh, come
Mm.
here." And they're doing little kissy kissy. So this is not their, this is like a couple times now that she's stayed over.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
She's
they're getting along really well.
their pillow talk is coming along quite nicely,
Yes,
as
they're
they
having
say.
their slumber parties. So because she is a firefighter, she has a special ringtone. So she gets this special ringtone. Her phone is ringing. It's a special ringtone for the chief. So I answer, even if it's her day off, because it's technically her day off. But we do know that there's something going on. So she, of course, has to address it. And so she answers, and she's like, "Hey, chief, what's up?" And then at the same time, Preacher's getting an alert, and it's sort of like the Amber Alert signal. And
Mm-hmm.
Kaya's in the background going, "Okay, yep, I'll be right there." And so she jumps up and she's getting ready. And on Preacher's phone, it's like wildfire alert for Virgin River. Mandatory evacuation has been issued for the West Hills area. That's technically Virgin River, but not like right where they are.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, uh-oh. So now she's getting called away, and he's like, hey, are we in trouble here? And she's like, well, the wind's picking up, so they need me to come in. She goes, well, the fire's still on the outskirts of town, and even if it gets close, everybody on this side of the river should be fine. So she's like, I'll be back, and she gives him a little kiss. She goes to finish that coffee. So she grabs her clothes, and she goes into the bathroom to change, and he's just looking a little nervous.
As you know, it spreads so quickly.
Yes, it really does. So across town, remember him and Mel were camping, and they
Yeah,
cut
that's
their
right.
trip short because they saw the smoke, so they're heading back. And Jack's like, all right, we're on our way back. Be there as soon as I can, Preach. So he's heading back, and they're a little nervous, but Mel looks a lot more nervous because, remember, she's in LA, and they don't really have as many. I mean, yeah, there's fires, not like the ones we just recently had. That's been a long time since we've had something like that. LA generally doesn't have to deal with it as much because it's such a big city. It's usually the areas that are more in the outskirts, in the wilderness, by the mountains, and more of the open areas. Right in the middle of like
Mm-hmm.
LA, you're not really going to have much of a problem. As they're coming back, like I said, Mel's looking a little nervous. She's like, has there been a fire like in a while? And he's like, well, only one since I got here. Now he's been there for 7 years. So there's only been one other time that they've had a problem like this. He's like, it wasn't too bad, got close enough, and gave everybody a good scare. And he said, because of that situation, because remember, Hope was the first mayor and she's been around forever. And he's like, because of that
Mm-hmm.
situation, Hope came up with a fire readiness plan. So that way, if this ever happens again, she's ready. They do staggered evacuations, they shelter at the elementary school. They have the whole plan figured out. And the bar is like a central command station because they're close to the river. And so he's like, you know what? We should probably head there. Now, Mel is thinking, wait a second. She doesn't want to go to the bar because she's a nurse. She wants to go to the clinic because if anybody's hurt or anybody needs medical attention, that's where everybody's going to go. So it makes sense for her to go to the clinic. And they're really close to each other. And so Jack's like, with the roads closed to Clear River, they're definitely going to send people to Virgin River, and the clinic's probably going to get overrun. So they need to be ready. Doc and Cameron are going to need all the help they can get. Jack's like, okay, that's it. So they've made a plan, and they're heading back into town. And of course, as they're heading in town, when people are driving, they do a really cool drone shot, and you can see the whole wilderness, and it's always beautiful. But this time, in the background with like music in the background, you see the smoke off in the distance, you see the fire. And even though it's not right in Virgin River, it's deceiving when you see the smoke where it is
Yeah,
because
it's
with
close
wind,
enough that
it could move fast. So
yeah.
they got to be ready. All right, so now we're in Sacramento, and Brie is at the parents' house, and she's looking very nervous. She's drinking her coffee. She's got the dog tags that Brady gave her. And her mom, who she doesn't really get along with so well, she comes out because Bree's just trying to take a minute, trying to pull herself together, sitting on the front porch. And her mom comes out. She's like, good morning, sweetheart. And she's like, good morning. And she's like, did you sleep? And Bree's like, yeah, not really. She goes, yeah, I can tell. I have a fantastic new eye cream. And Bree's like, Mom, I don't need eye cream. And she's like, well, I thought you'd like to look best for your big day. And Bree kind of takes offense to that. And she's like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to a job interview, Mom. She goes, I'm testifying in a criminal case. She goes, and I should go get ready. And she goes, oh, Brie, I didn't mean, whatever you thought I meant. She's like, I know it's hard. You just have to get through the day and it'll all be over. And Brie's like, yeah, I'm not sure that's true. And the mom's like, well, I am. She goes, and later we can catch up and you can tell me all about your new house and your new job and why Brady suddenly decided not to come. And see, they don't see eye to eye at all.
Oh, no.
And they're always sort of picking at each other. And Amelia,
it's polar opposite.
The mom always seems to say the wrong thing. Or just Brie takes everything she says the wrong way. But she's always insinuating stuff, right? And Brie's like, can we not? And she's like, Mom, she goes, like you said, just got to get through the day. I mean, I think if she had somewhere else to stay, she probably would have, but it didn't work out that way. So we're at the clinic, and Muriel's helping some people, and he's like, oh, we're going to get you out of here real soon. And so she's talking to people because they want to evacuate. So, they've got it all set up, and Jack and Mel show up, and he's like, oh, good to see you. It's like, we need help. Doc and Cameron are tied up with patients, and this family here, the father did not want to come down from the camps, but the wife knows Doc, and so she insisted, and they inhaled a lot of smoke, and Jack gives Mel a kiss, and Jack's like, all right, well, I'm going to leave you to it, because he's got other things to do, because if the command center is at the bar, he's got to get over there. And so he gives Mel a kiss, and Doc shows up, and he was like, Mel, glad you're here. Jack, can I talk to you outside? Because, Jack is like the other mayor. Like, if you need something done, if you want to take care of things, if you want to know what's going on, Jack's your man. Jack's your all-around man. So, of course, they're going to coordinate everything with him. Jack and Doc go outside, and Muriel grabs Mel, and Mel's talking to the family, and they're trying to figure out with the smoke inhalation, and she's like, hi, my name is Mel. I'm a nurse practitioner, and I hear you inhaled a lot of smoke. And she's like, come on over here. Let's take a seat. And she takes him in there, and he's like, I'm fine. I used to smoke a pack a day. And she's like, well, he said it feels like someone is sitting on his chest. Because, the guy, he's like, oh, there's nothing wrong. I'm fine. Everything's good. She goes in, and he said his heart. It's not. Right? Exactly. And he's like, he says his heart's beating really fast. Well, these are not good signs. That's your body's working overtime.
Well, thank God he told his wife, because imagine if he didn't tell her.
I know. And Mel's like, well, that sounds like typical prolonged smoke exposure. Elevated heart rate is because you're not getting enough oxygen, and your heart has to work overtime. So it's trying to get it all through your body. So I'm going to put you on some oxygen for a couple hours, and then we'll check your heart rate. And if everything seems good, whatever. And she's like, we don't have insurance. She's like, look, you know what? I'm a volunteer nurse here today, so don't worry about it. It's fine. She's like, my services are free. The oxygen's on me. She goes, but I might have to charge you for a lollipop. And she grabs a bunch of lollipops because they have a little daughter who's like 4 or 5 years old. And so she gives the little girl a lollipop. She goes, things are pretty scary up there because they were up in pot camps. Remember, Mel and Jack are very familiar with the pot camps.
Oh, yeah.
Because of some time that they spent there not too long ago. I mean, it seems like forever. I mean, it's like 4 seasons, but it's like 6 months for them, which is crazy. But yeah, it's only been about 6 months.
Yeah,
oh my
it's
goodness.
forever.
I know. Doc is talking to Jack out on the porch. I guess he doesn't want everybody to hear. He's like, okay, apparently the smoke is really bad up at the camps. And folks are scared and that they're going to face criminal charges or deportation if they leave. And Jack's like, well, what do you want me to go talk to them? And Doc's like, yeah. He goes, most of them are good people. They've had their fair share of bad luck and just want to make sure that they get the treatment that they need, which is always Doc's philosophy. Just give people what they need. And he's like, but somebody needs to convince them. And Jack's like, all right, I'll see what I can do. So Jack's going to head up there and see what he can do. And he goes, it's going to get mighty confusing with all the smoke. And Jack's like, yeah, well, we're just going to have to. He goes, I think I know somebody that can help. So Jack heads off because, got to get reinforcements. Now we're in Emerald Lumber. And that's the whole logging operation. We've got Brady. We've got his Melissa and her main worker guy. And Brady, who is like sort of the foreman of the area, he's like the foreman of this workplace, and he is explaining that they need to evacuate because the fire's close. Now, obviously, Melissa's main focus is probably the drugs.
Yeah, no, what do you mean main focus?
Right?
It is the main. That's all she's thinking about. It's ching, ching, ching for her.
Exactly.
She's got a deadline. She's got to get that stuff moving before somebody finds it.
Well, and her philosophy is once my product's secure, I'll follow the CAL FIRE orders. Like, she's not going to worry about it until she gets her drugs situated.
Mm-hmm.
So her guy is like packing up all the drugs and whatever, and he's like, well, where are you moving it to anyway? And she's like, none of your business. She doesn't want to tell him.
Right.
And he's like, well, what do you want me to do with the lumber yard? And Melissa, she's like, let it burn, collect the insurance. I'll be in touch once the smoke clears. It's like, wow. Like, it clearly is a front, and she just doesn't care. And all they need is what fits inside one suitcase. That's all they're after. The rest of it doesn't even care.
Yeah.
And they've got, the firemen are coming. There's sirens. There's all kinds of, it's getting crazy. And Brady's just standing there like, are you kidding me? Like, what? And they're just driving away. Like, you handle it. Let it burn. We don't care. Well, Brady's not going to stand for that. Jack shows up just as Melissa's driving away. Now, they're not on good terms, but they're not on bad terms either. I think they're on, I would call it civil terms, right? Like they're tolerating each other.
Yeah.
And Jack's trying. Jack's trying.
Well, Jack's is you do you, boo.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And Jack rolls up like his ass is on fire, no pun intended. And Brady's like, what's up? What's up? What's going on? And he's like, I'm going to need some help evacuating the camps. Doc says people are refusing to leave, and I think you can help talk them down. Because remember, Brady worked up there with Calvin, so he knows a lot of those people. They didn't really like Jack and Mel because they felt like they came in and like did stuff they weren't supposed to do. And they see them as on the opposite side, whereas Brady was working for Calvin. So he's familiar. He knows the people. They have probably a better chance of the people listening to Brady than if Jack were to go up there by himself. So that's why, great idea, Jack. Go grab Brady. The two of you go up there. And Brady's like, I can't make any promises, but, I'll follow you up in one of the trucks and, I'll see if I can help. Because that's the best. I mean, he's a good guy deep down. He just does dumb stuff. Yeah. He's impulsive and he does dumb stuff. But he's a good guy at heart. So they decide they're going to meet at the gate of the pot camp and hope that the people will listen to them. Now, he's also wants to make sure that the workers at the lumberyard are okay. So he grabs some of the people and he's like, send everybody home. Go be with your families, which is the right thing to do. Even though Melissa doesn't care about the lumberyard, Brady does, and he cares about the people that work there. So he's trying to do the right thing. He goes, it's not safe here anymore, and put the sprinklers on before you go. Hopefully they can save some of it. Mm-hmm. Now they're showing a overhead shot, which it
does not look good.
There's a huge fire line with lots of smoke. And it's burning. And the firemen are out there and they're hosing things down. And there's a reporter. And they're like, Day 7 in the Grace Valley wildfires. And Hope is watching. She's on the phone. And she's like, we're all on the same side of the river as the fire. Which is scary. She goes, and I'd feel better if you came over to this side of the river. So she's in the process of calling people. She happens to be talking to Liddy. And Liddy is on the other side of the river. So she's trying to get Liddy to evacuate to somewhere a little bit safer. And Liddy's like, but I already spoke to Nick. Because remember, Nick is the mayor. And he's in charge. He gets to make the rules. Even though Hope is the one. He's not so bright when it comes to this stuff. Because Hope is the one that came up with the whole evacuation plan. And if they follow it, then everything is taken care of. But we don't know if Nick's following it. So Liddy's like, I already talked to Nick. And he told me that we need to keep the roads clear so the people who need to get out can get out really fast. And Hope is like, oh, is that what Nick said? Did Nick draft the fire? She goes, oh, is that what Nick said? Did Nick draft the fire readiness plan? No, I did. And I made it clear that elderly and disabled people should be evacuated first. They're the priority, and as early as possible. And Liddy's like, just because I said that I enjoyed getting older doesn't mean that I want to be thought of as elderly. And she goes, better than being thought of as in the past tense, because you stay put and roasted like a marshmallow. Oh my God. You see, even when she's being harsh, she's being funny. And Denny and Lizzie are looking at her like, oh my God. She goes, my goodness, Hope, are you really that worried about me? It's like, of course, Liddy. I mean, come on. She goes, yes, Liddy, I am. She goes, well, then I suppose one more car on the road couldn't hurt. She goes, I'll pack up a few things and head on over, which is exactly what she wants to hear. So Hope is like, it's like she's a phone tree herself. And Hope is pissed. She's like, Nick must be ignoring the fire readiness plan because there are people that are at home that should not be there.
Yeah.
She goes, I may not be on top of my game now, but I was when I wrote it. And you can't ignore the plan. She goes, I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to find out. So she's definitely on the warpath. She's going to go find Nick and find out what the heck's going on.
Trying to do his own thing because he doesn't want to follow in Hope's plan.
Well, he thinks he's got a plan. He doesn't have a plan. That's the problem.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It would be fine if he had a plan. So Hope is like, he better be using Jack Spar as command central because that would make the most sense. But,
Mm-hmm.
And Lizzie and Denny are just like, okay, Hope, you got to calm down. And they're just basically following her around because she's getting herself all riled up. And I know they're worried. She goes, why don't Denny and I take you? She goes, because getting behind the wheel with your intense anger, probably not a good idea, It might count with you being upset and a traumatic brain injury. I think that would be counted as driving under the influence. So they decide they're going to drive her, get her to the command center at Jack's bar, and go from there. Because Nick better be there.
Oh, maybe it's best Nick not be there because she may kill him.
Right? So now we are in Sacramento, and Brie is getting ready for the trial. And she's got Brady's dog tags. And a woman asks her how long the recess is. She's not talking to anybody. And just as she kind of gets sort of startled, she looks up, and it's Don and his lawyer. And he's like, nice to see you again, Brie. Which, that is the last person she needed to see.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it freaks her out. But she's trying to calm down. She goes to call Brady. Like, she's got her finger almost on the button to call, and she just can't make herself do it.
Mm.
Poor thing.
Which is so sad. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it looks like, you know what? Maybe just get some air. So back at Jack's bar, we've got sirens in the background, and Hope and Denny and Lizzie show up, and they find Nick. Nick is like, on behalf of everybody in Virgin River, Chief, I just want to thank you for all CAL FIRE's doing for us. And he goes, well, we'll do as much as we can, but we're going to need some help, starting with organizing teams of volunteers to help the sheriff with evacuees. And he goes, oh, yes, Preacher served 2 tours in Iraq. Maybe he could help coordinate.
Oh, boy.
Right? And Preacher comes up, and he's like, yeah, I'm happy to help, whatever you need. And he goes, my man will give you a map, and you could get started. And he's like, no problem. And, of course, Hope is watching Nick handle things, and it's like a lot of delegating. He's not actually doing anything. And she's like, excuse me, Nick, may I have a word? And she's pissed at him. And he's like, sure, Hope, what can I do for you? He goes, you can tell me why you aren't following the fire plan. He goes, it calls for evacuation of elderly and disabled from all zones. And he goes, Hope, I'm doing what CAL FIRE says. Chief Smith is far better equipped to handle this situation than I am. He goes, yeah, but you're the mayor of this town now. You can't be passive. She's freaking out. She's like, your residents who aren't protected by the river are sitting ducks. And he's like, I know, Hope, and I promise I'm not going to let anything happen to them. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a crisis to manage. And he kind of gets a little snippy with her. And she's like, oh my God, this is so frustrating. All I'm doing is trying to help. And Preacher's like, maybe you still can. And she's like, yeah, well, now the chief put me in control of organizing all the volunteers. So Preacher talks to Hope and says, so I see no reason why we can't send a few extra people to check on some of those citizens in Virgin River that maybe are a little vulnerable. And Denny and Lizzie are like, we'll volunteer. Where can we go? So they're going to send him on a mission. He goes, well, since we know Liddy's headed this way, why don't you go out to Bert's since he's way out there? Check on him. They spoke to Shirley. She's at her mother's in Montana, so he's by himself. And he goes, what about Aunt Connie? She's at the elementary school helping with everything, and he'll meet up with her later. And they think that the way to Bert's place is clear, so they should be able to go out there because he's not in yet. He hasn't come to the command center, so they got to make sure he's okay. And he's pretty far on the outskirts, so they got to check on him. And they're like, so as long as you stay on this particular road, it should be an easy trip there and back. So Denny's like, you can count on us. So they're off. So then we hear a mayday call. And the chief grabs the radio, and he's like, firefighter, identify yourself and state your emergency. And he goes, this is Davis. We have 2 firefighters down. One with an impalement, possible internal bleeding. And the second, I know, right? Like, these are bad injuries. But, I mean, you're going to get that kind of stuff with such a big thing. The second with minor injuries and were unable to extricate. They need immediate medical assistance. And they give the latitude and longitude of the location so they can find them. So Nick, he grabs the map, and he just looks like he doesn't know what the heck he's doing. So the chief's like, stay put, Davis. Help is on the way. So they got to figure out how to get help to where they're located to get them out of there. So Nick figures out where it is, and he goes, well, the road to that location is cut off, and Hope tries to chime in, and she's like, we can get a straight shot there from the clinic, and Nick just does not want her help. And he's like yelling at her. He's like, Hope, I'm sure the chief can handle this. And he's kind of looking at Nick to like stand up and do what needs to be done. He's like, you got to make the call. And Nick is just like, I don't know.
Yeah, he's passing the buck. He has no stomach for delegation.
No.
None whatsoever.
And Preacher hears that 2 firefighters are injured, knowing that Kaya is out there, and he's like, hey, any chance that you know the name of those injured firefighters? And he goes, nope, you know much as I do. And he's like, why? He goes, just worried about a friend. And Hope's like, if Vernon is on the way, whoever they are will be in good hands, because Doc and Cameron were probably on their way out there as soon as they got word. So hopefully it'll be okay. So now we're back at the clinic. Mel is checking on the dad, who's having some breathing problems, and she's got him on oxygen. Looks like he's doing pretty good. She's listening to his lungs. She's like, all right, your lungs are clear. Heart rate is back down. I think you're good to go. He goes, there's a shelter at the elementary school. Send you with a rescue inhaler, and just in case you get any more shortness of breath. And she gives a lollipop to the little girl, and she goes, I think I'm going to have to prescribe you another lollipop. And then the mom is like, thanks, Mel. So she's like, bye. So they're very grateful. Now Mel is like, ready for the next patient, and Muriel walks in, and she's like, hey, Mel, we got somebody else. She goes, minor burn, left hand. Mel grabs her phone, and she's like, all right, apply a cool wet compress, and I'll be right back. I'm just going to run to the restroom. So they show Mel in the restroom, sitting on the toilet, and unfortunately, she has found some blood. And she's kind of freaking out. And she knows what that is, because she's had multiple miscarriages before, and this makes her very nervous. And she's kind of like frozen. And she kind of like takes a deep breath, and then we go back to the courthouse.
Talk about suspense.
I
Good
know.
Lord.
I know. So now we've got Brie on the stand for the trial, and her lawyer, the lawyer who is, remember there was a lawyer who has a bunch of cases that they've brought together against Don. and Brie decided to join this this lawsuit against Don. And so she starts asking. She's like, "Could you start by telling the court your name and relationship to the defendant?" And Brie's like, "My name is Brie Sheridan, and the defendant is my rapist." Of course, Don's lawyer stands up. "Objection!" She goes, "Assumes facts not in evidence, for one." And the judge is like, "Sustained. The jury will ignore the last statement." And he goes, "Miss Sheridan, I know you're also an attorney, so you should know better." So they kind of reprimand her a little bit. She goes, "Won't happen again. I'm sure. I'm sorry." So she's like, "Don is my ex-boyfriend." He's like, "Will you please tell the jury what happened on the night of May 10th? He goes, "Well, Don made us dinner. We had a glass of wine, watched some Dancing with the Stars, and then he sexually assaulted me." And the lawyer, of course, jumps up. "Your Honor." He's like, "Ms. Richardson, do you need a moment to talk to your witness? Because this is twice now that they feel Brie is talking out of turn."
There's a reason why Brie is doing that.
Yeah,
Because
she knows what she's doing. She's a lawyer.
She knows what she's doing, because as much as the judge will say, "Oh, disregard that last statement,"
Yeah, you can't unring a bell.
You can't unring that bell, and Brie knows it. That's the thing about cross-examining a lawyer.
Yep. They know the tricks just as much as everybody else. That's
exactly.
Lawyers too. Her lawyer is like, "No, Your Honor, we called Miss Sheridan to testify as to what happened between herself and the defendant that night. The defense whole case rests on the fact that the incident in question was a miscommunication, a mistake, but Miss Sheridan's testimony will show intent. The defendant knew exactly what he was doing, and he acted similarly with other witnesses." And the judge is like, "I'll allow it, but on the grounds that you don't categorize the incident yourself, Miss Sheridan. That's for the jury to decide. Your job is to tell us what happened." Like she doesn't know that. He goes, "Nothing more, nothing less. Do you think you can do that?" She's like, "I can, Your Honor." He goes, "Then you may proceed." So the lawyer asks her again, "Can you share the facts of what happened between you and the defendant after you finished watching TV that night?" Very tense music in the background. She takes a deep breath. It's hard for her to do this. So now we're back at the clinic. Mel is kind of freaking out, and she runs back into the office. She shuts the doors. She grabs the ultrasound machine, and she rolls it over.
Oh, God.
I know.
This is so heartbreaking.
And Doc walks in, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, yeah, I think I'm just really tired from the morning rush." He goes, "Yeah, how are you? Are you okay?" Because, he goes, "Yeah, there's a firefighter who's been impaled, and I need to see if it's safe to move them, and I want to bring Cameron with me in case he needs, I need his help." And she goes, "Okay, you can hold down the fort." She's like, yeah. He goes, "Okay, I'll be back as soon as I can," and he's out of there. And Muriel's like, "Hey, Mel, we have some more patients out there, mostly minor burns and smoke inhalation." And she's like, "Okay, can you do their intakes for me? Just rank them from most severe to least, and she's like, "Oh, yes, well, I did an under 5 role as a nurse in General Hospital, so you don't need to worry about a thing." Like, that's the same. So Mel, again, shuts the door, grabs the ultrasound machine, pulls it over, turns it on. She unbuttons her pants, taking a deep breath, grabs the gel, grabs the wand. Now, she's had an ultrasound, so she knows there's a baby in there. Last time she checked.
Oh, God. Remind me how many months she's at now at?
When she told Cameron she was 8 weeks, and she was supposed to see the doctor for the nip at about 11 weeks. Okay. And that was like a week or so ago. I'm going to guess that she's 12 to 13 weeks.
Okay.
If I had to guess, it's first trimester, like barely.
Right. Okay.
I'm going to guess 12 weeks.
Okay.
So she's rolling it over, and she's looking, and she's looking, and she's looking. And they even have the sound listening for a heartbeat, and it shows fetal heart rate is 0.
Oh, God.
And she starts to cry because she knows that the baby's gone. And she's just crying, shaking her head no. Like, again? Like, seriously? Like, how many more times is she going to have to go through this? So she takes a deep breath. She
Mm.
buttons her pants. She grabs some tissues.
And you
Blows her
know
nose.
what this is
Yeah.
like.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
You know exactly what this is like.
Yep.
Mm.
She blows her nose, wipes her face. She's crying. But because she's a professional, she doesn't have a choice. They're in the middle of a crisis, and she
Even though
has to.
she's in the middle of a crisis.
She's in the middle of a crisis, but she's a professional, and she's going to deal with it later. Because right now, if she deals with it now, she will be no good to anyone, and she knows that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she just has to take a deep breath, push it aside, and handle her business and deal with it later, which is
Mm.
like heartbreaking.
Oh
Like,
God.
so heartbreaking. I remember when I first saw this, oh my God, I was in tears. Probably the first
Mm.
5 times I watched it. Maybe even
Well, yeah.
more.
Well, the thing is for you, it's so real.
Yes.
It's so real because you've been through this,
Yeah.
and you know this pain.
Oh yeah.
So that's
I
the
mean,
thing. So it's like memory pull. You know,
oh
it's like that.
yeah. That just brings you
So,
right back, and that was 20,
yeah.
24 years ago, almost 25 years ago. Yeah, because my oldest is 22 now, so yeah, miscarriages. It's like that anticipation of waiting and waiting, and
Yeah.
then it's
And
not
I
there
and I
anymore.
and I remember some of those implants that you had and
Yep.
not
Yeah.
being successful.
Oh yeah,
So
IVF is just it's the
it's a
hope.
big.
That's what it is. It's the hope.
Mhm.
It's the hope that something will happen, and that's why you keep going because there's hope.
Yeah.
And yeah, so and then when it doesn't work, it's one thing, but when it does work and then something goes wrong, it's like a double whammy, you know?
Yeah.
And I was pregnant with twins, so I lost twins at like 8
Yeah.
weeks.
I remember that.
And then my oldest was a twin. And then the twin just disappeared. Yeah, it's crazy, but this is hard for her because she's already been. We won't find out till later how many times she's actually been through this. As far as we know right now, she's stated that she's had a miscarriage before, and she did have a stillbirth. So we know of at least 2, but we will find out a more accurate number later, which just makes it even more heartbreaking. I mean, this was like, think of what they went through to have this baby.
I know.
First, they
Yeah.
think it's Mark's, and it's not, and
Yeah.
it's Jack's, and it's Jack's first baby, and it's together, and she felt different, and this was going to be the one, and here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, it's just so heartbreaking. So she turns off the machine, and she's gotta pull herself together, and she's gotta she just takes a deep breath. And it's like, I got to deal with this. I got to put it in a box and I got to deal with it later. And she just takes a deep breath. She tells herself, okay. And she's like, okay. And she just got to pull herself together. So now we're looking at a lot of smoke. There is a lot of smoke. The whole pot camp looks like it's overrun with smoke, that the wind is shifted in such a way that the whole place has just got so much smoke. And Brady's like, this isn't going to be easy to get these people out of here. And even though they know him, that doesn't mean they're going to listen to him.
That's true.
But they're coughing, and he's telling everybody, look, guys, I know that most of you don't want to leave here, but we got to ask you got to evacuate. It's not safe. The wind is changing. The camp is now under a mandatory evacuation order. And the guy's like, the camp is all we got. And he's like, yeah, I get that. He goes, but the fire is like literally on your doorstep. You're not safe here. And he goes, well, we don't know you. We don't want to believe him. You know, he goes, well, then believe me. He's like, come on, Frank, you know me. Like, nobody wants to believe Jack. But Brady, they know. And he goes, look, I had your back with Calvin. I have your back now. I would never ask you to leave unless I thought you really needed to. You have my word. This is what we need to do. And I mean, the fire is getting really close. And Jack's like, we got to leave. We got to get out of here right now. And so he's just telling everybody, you got to hurry. Just put your stuff in the truck. Grab what you can. Basically, we got to go fast or we're not going to make it. So we're back at the clinic. Mel is taking care of some people. And she's got people on oxygen. And she's like Just take some deep breaths. And the phone rings. She answers. She's like, Muriel. And she goes, oh, sorry. She goes, were you here the whole time? She goes, a good actress is always waiting in the wings. She goes, what do you need? And she's like, can you make sure that, because she has a patient on a nebulizer, which is what they use for like asthma. She's like, just look at the mist and make sure it constantly fills up and, you know, make sure there's nothing in the bottom. Make sure he keeps breathing. Just kind of telling her to keep an eye on this patient for a little bit while she takes a phone call. She's like, I'll be right back. And so she answers the phone. So she's like, hey, Ava. And she's like, hey, Mel. She goes, looks like I chose the wrong time to visit Virgin River. Now, remember Ava. Ava is Lily's daughter, and she came back and forth. She was there for the funeral and everything, and she got to know Mel. Remember, Mel helped her with some endometriosis issues. She took her to the doctor. Well, she's back visiting, watching Chloe, and she's like, yep, she probably should have picked a different time to visit Virgin River. She's like, I know, the fire's really scary. Now, at the same time that Mel is on the phone with her, she's getting herself a glass of water, and it looks like she's taking Tylenol because I think she's got some pain.
Yeah, the cramps.
Yeah. So she asks Ava, are you guys at the farm? Are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm watching Chloe for a few days while Tara's in San Francisco. She goes, but I think I'm more cut out to do the fun aunt thing and not the caretaker in a crisis aunt. She goes, I wasn't told to evacuate, but there's a lot of smoke outside. She goes, you know what? You were right to call. It can be really dangerous, especially for babies, even if you can't see it in your house. So she's like, if the roads are clear, can you bring her to the clinic and we'll check her out? And she goes, that'll put both our minds at ease. And she's like, okay, perfect. I'll see you in 30 minutes. She goes, I'll be waiting. So Mel's like, okay, great. See you soon. So off they go. So Mel is just kind of taking a minute, and Muriel pops in, and she's like, Mel. And she goes, it stopped misting. So now she's got to go, you know, she's trying to take a minute for herself when she can, but there just really isn't time. And that sucks because when she does deal with it, it's going to hit so much harder.
Oh, yeah, it's going to come crashing down.
So we're at Jack's bar, and Preacher's like, all right, let's do rendezvous after an hour, and we'll head back as a unit. So they're getting teams going out. Volunteers are helping. They're sending them out. They're checking all the homes that they want to evacuate early, all the older people, all the disabled people. That's Hope's plan, and Preacher is helping her implement it because Nick isn't doing anything. And
please,
he's
useless. Just picking up space.
He's useless right now. And Hope is like, it's nice to know people outside the sewing circle still believe in me. And she's like, hey, you're a warrior for this town, Hope. He goes, and when warriors get wounded, we rally around them. And she's like, I appreciate that. He goes, everything's going to be just fine. He goes, Nick can't screw this up too badly. And she's like, are you sure about that?
I was not about to put that out.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of make eyes at each other like, well, maybe. I don't know. So they ask if there's any updates for the firefighter. And Preacher's like, nothing yet, but I haven't pushed. I don't want to annoy Chief Smith because he looks like he's a busy guy. He goes, well, I'm happy to annoy Nick if you make me something to eat. And he's like, you got yourself a deal. So Hope's going to go find out. So the more aerial shots, everything is covered in smoke. Now, Doc and Cameron show up, and they were able to get through to where those firefighters are injured. And they have their equipment and everything, and the guy is like, you know, two firefighters were on this rock face trying to get a better angle on the blaze when a tree fell and forcing them both to jump at the last second. So Kai is there, and she's looking after a guy who's laying on the ground who's got a very large tree branch through his leg.
Ugh.
Yeah, exactly. And so she's like, hey, this is Jay. And Jay, I'm Dr. Mullins. This is Dr. Hayek. And he's like, yeah, you're Cameron, right? And he's like, yeah. He goes, you two know each other? Because remember, he goes, yeah, Mel and I helped Kaya deliver a baby on FaceTime a few days ago. So they get to meet in person. He goes, how are you feeling, Jay? And he goes, like, there's a giant piece of wood sticking out of my leg. Everybody's a comedian, right? Everybody's a comedian. It's like, seriously? Jeez.
Yes.
That's funny. And he goes, well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but there is a giant piece of wood sticking out of your leg.
Oh God.
Everybody's a comedian. He goes, so please don't make me laugh, Doc. It hurts. And he goes, laughter isn't always the best medicine, but I'm glad you're in good spirits. All things considered, Kaya said there isn't enough clearance to cut me free here. So, and she shakes her head no. And she goes, so what's the plan? And they're looking around and they're looking at each other and says, you guys have a plan, right? Kaya asks Doc and Cameron, and they kind of like look at each other and they're nodding, like they don't really know what the hell they're doing, but they're going to come up with a plan. They're like, even if you don't have a plan, you say you have a plan until you come up with a plan. I mean, what are you going to do? Denny and Lizzie are driving around. They're trying to make sure on their way to Bert's house, they're trying to, make sure that people are out, and they happen to be passing by Liddy's, and they're like, wait a minute. Why is Liddy's car still here? When we were at the house, she told Hope that she was leaving. He goes, didn't Hope tell her to get out of here a while ago? And so they go and they check on Liddy, who's packing the back of her car, and they're like, Liddy. And she's like, oh, what are you two doing out here? He goes, we came to check on Bert and saw you in your driveway. You were supposed to be out of town already. And she goes, oh, just a few more boxes. If you two could help me, we could be out of here in a jiff. And he goes, oh, Liddy, I think you have enough stuff already. He goes, it's getting really bad out there. We need to go. She goes, well, not until I have everything in the car. She goes, this is all I have left of Herb and Ricky. Ricky isn't dead. He's at basic training. She goes, yeah, but what if he doesn't come back? Something could happen. Accidents happen. He goes, yeah, he could get deployed, Liddy. But you know what? And I know how much you miss him because I miss him too. She said, but I also know that Ricky wouldn't want you risking your life over memorabilia. Your memories aren't in that house, Liddy. They're in your heart, and no fire can take them away from you. Also, you have like 4 million boxes in the car already. I think you're good. So she's like, okay, let's go. So they get her packed up. They put her in her car. She goes, you two want to follow me back to town? He goes, no. You go straight there. We got to go check on Bert, and we'll be right behind you. Drive safe. So she closes up the car. She takes a look at her house, hopes maybe that she'll get to come back and see it again. And she's going to go back to town. So thank goodness, because she would have probably just stayed there for another hour packing.
Tell me about it.
Liddy. So we're back in court, and Brie's answering questions, and she's like, it only happened the one time. She goes, but I've relived that moment every single day. And Don just sits there with like no expression on his face.
Yeah, because he thinks he's done nothing wrong.
The fact that his lawyer is a woman is almost sad. It's sickening.
Well, he purposely did that. That's a strategy move, my friend.
Yeah,
that's a strategy move.
But with all that evidence, I would think that she would recuse herself and just say, get another lawyer because this is too personal, or I'm a woman. But no. Like, she's on his side? I don't know. I mean, I know technically you never ask your client a question you don't know the answer to. So maybe you just defend, because everybody's entitled to a defense, but I don't know.
Even the slime balls.
Yep. And so Brie says that it's been almost 4 months, and she wants the memories to stop. She's like, I need it to stop. She said, so I can move on with my life. And the lawyer's like, and you believe bringing the defendant to justice will allow you to do so? And Brie's like, I really hope so. And so the lawyer says, thank you for sharing your story with the court. It was very brave of you, Miss Sheridan. That said, I am sorry you had to relive the details again today. No further questions, Your Honor. And her lawyer goes to sit down. So then the other lawyer gets up. She goes, yes, thank you for being here, Miss Sheridan. And she kind of does it in such a little snide way.
Very condescending.
Mm-hmm. She's like, and Brie's taking a drink of water. She's trying to center herself, kind of taking a deep breath, getting ready for what this woman's going to ask her.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, while the ADA and I may not agree on the facts of this case, we do agree that telling your story was indeed very brave. And Brie's like, thank you. If I had been through what you claim to have been through, I don't know if I could do it myself. I'd be a little nervous, but you seem calm. Might you have taken anything to help calm your nerves today? This is exactly what Brie was telling Brady. Remember, she was telling Brady that they might use this against her?
Yep.
And Brie's like, no, I didn't take anything. but it opened the door. That's the problem. She goes, but if you're trying to imply that I've taken Xanax before, that's no secret. I had a prescription to help with my anxiety. Well, actually, the lawyer's like, I wasn't trying to imply anything. But as the judge said, you're an attorney. So if you brought it up, you must feel it's some bearing on this case. And her lawyer stands up and says, objection. She goes, is the defense testifying Miss Sheridan's thoughts, or will they allow her to do so? And the judge is like, sustained. She goes, I'll rephrase the question. Did you ever drink alcohol while taking Xanax? And Brie's like, yes. She goes, what about the night in question? Did you mix Xanax and alcohol then? And she's like, I did. So isn't it possible you don't remember what you said that night? And Brie's like, no. And she's very firm. She goes, I remember every single detail of that night. Now, this is where the lawyer's going to try to trip her up. She's like, it's seared into my memory. And she's like, really? So who was voted off Dancing with the Stars? And her lawyer stands up. Objection, relevance. She said she remembers every detail. She goes, where is this going, counselor? Because now the judge is getting mad. Because, this little shenanigans this chick's trying to play, it's not working. She goes, where's this going, counselor? She goes, oh, forget what was on TV? Do you remember Don asking you to marry him earlier that evening? And Don is sitting there looking very smug, nodding his head.
Yep.
And she's like, I do, but it was offhanded. He wasn't serious. And his lawyer's like, well, according to my client, it was very serious. He wanted to marry you. That is, until he learned of your drug and alcohol problem and changed his mind. Like, seriously? And Brie's looking at her like, are you insane? He was leaving you heartbroken and out for vengeance. She's trying hard to spin it.
That's where she's going with that one.
Yep. And Brie's looking at her like, have you lost your mind, woman? She's like, no, that is not what happened. And her lawyer's like, objection, Your Honor. And he's like, all of our temperatures are running a little hot right now. So let's take a 30-minute recess so we can all cool down. So now we're back at the fire. Lot of smoke. So the guy who is injured, his name is Jay. Kaya's right there. She goes, all right, just stay focused on me. And Jay looks up at Kaya and he's like, it's kind of hard not to. And he's like, oh, well, you're all up in my face right now. And Doc's like, hey, it seems like we're going to get you out of here and back to the clinic. And Kaya's like, okay, are you ready? And they all carefully. He's like, wait, is this going to hurt? And they're like, yeah, it's going to hurt like hell. Like, are you ready? They literally have to four people grab him and lift him straight up to pull that bark out of his leg. Because they can't release they can't cut it from underneath, so they have to pull him out. Usually you want to leave it in. My understanding from all the medical shows that I've watched, anytime you get impaled, you're not supposed to take whatever that is out until you get to surgery. Because if you take it out, you've now left the hole and you can bleed out.
Yeah, it bleed to death. Yeah. It's a very Grey's Anatomy moment.
Yes. Now, in this situation, they don't have the luxury of taking that piece of wood with them, so they don't have a choice. They have to they got to take him off of it. So they get ready and they're like, "All right, everybody lift on 3." And he's going to hold on for his dear life. And he goes, 1, 2, 3. And he screams as they lift him off. Now, at the same time, Jack and Brady are at the pot camp. And they are loading a bunch of people up on these trucks to get them out of there. They're trying to evacuate them. They've got campers. And all of a sudden, they hear explosions. And they're like, what is that? Because they're like, we got to get out of here before somebody gets hurt. And there's an ammunition tent, and I guess it caught fire, and now stuff's just popping off. So now they got to be afraid that they don't accidentally get shot by just like some random bullets that are flying around. Can you imagine? Jeez. But then again, that would make sense because it's Calvin. Of course he would have weapons there. So Jack's looking around for Brady, and then As Brady's looking around, he hears this woman hysterically yelling, Hazel, Hazel. And Brady stops her and he's like, what's going on? And she's like, Hazel. He's like, is everything all right? She's like, my daughter, tell me. He's like, tell me what happened. He's like, I can't find her. I saw her here. She was playing and then she ran off. She's only 6. And he goes, I'll find her, I promise. And he just takes off. And Jack's like, wait a minute, where are you going? He goes, her daughter's lost out there. And Jack's like, okay, give me the keys. He goes, all right, take these keys, gives them to the girl. He goes, if the fire gets too close, you drive everybody out of here. And they run into the forest. And they're yelling, Hazel, Hazel. The same time, Preacher's in the kitchen. Because he's got to make some grub. Because I'm sure you got a ton of hungry firefighters. So he sees Hope. And he's like, she runs up to him and she's like, Kai is fine. It was someone else who was injured in the field. Because she knows that's why he was asking. He never said Kaya, but Hope knows.
Please.
But Hope knows. I don't know how everybody knows it's her. I don't know that anybody even saw them together.
It's Virgin River. Everybody knows everybody's bloody business.
Probably true, yes. And he's like, wait, how did you know her name, see? And she's like, oh, I may be down, but I'm not completely out. He goes, I heard it was just casual, but it's clear that you've caught feelings. As she's... Remember she said, can you make me something to eat and I'll go talk to Nick about what's going on and where your friend is?
Yeah.
And so as she walked in, he handed her like a bowl of food. And that's why she's like, oh yeah, Kai is fine. Like she's got all the information. She's got the 411 and now she's making fun of him because he, as the kids say, caught feelings. And he's just looking at her. He goes, Lizzie taught me that phrase. And he goes, I have caught feelings, but I don't know. He's like, I don't want to push, mess things up. And she's like, do you mind if I offer some unsolicited advice? Isn't that the only kind that she has? I mean, seriously. Everything she says is unsolicited. So she's going to say it anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
That's true.
And, of course, Preacher knows that, so he's like, well, if I did, would that stop you? And she's like, tell her how you feel.
Probably not.
Don't hold back. Who knows? She might feel the same. And he's like, yeah, but what if she doesn't? Then at least, and she's like, then at least you didn't leave anything unsaid. She's okay right now, but she's a hotshot Preacher. A real warrior like you. You know from experience, anything can happen in the field. But she continues to eat, and she's like, oh my God, this is so good, thank you. Because he's such a good cook. So he picks up his phone. He's texting her. Wanted you to know I'm thinking of you. You're all I'm thinking about. Oh, telling her how he feels.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we'll see if she responds. I mean, she is a firefighter. She's a little busy right now. So we're back at the clinic, and Doc is taking care of the guy's leg. Mel's putting in an IV. She's like, I'm gonna start some fluids while Doc is unpacking and cleaning your wound. He's like, can you see through my leg? And Doc's like, well, I sure can. Wow, I can see China down there. Because he's such a smart ass. And then Cameron's got this giant thing that looks like a needle. And he goes, what are you going to do with that? He goes, it's probably better if I don't tell you. And Doc just looks at Cameron and they start laughing. He goes, what? Only you can tell jokes? And he's like, it's saline. We're just going to flush your wound out. After Mel administers a local anesthetic. And he goes, is that going to hurt? He goes, it's okay. It shouldn't hurt that much. He goes, thank you, all of you. Thank you so much for taking such good care of me today. And he goes, it's our pleasure. Cameron says, honestly, I was just a glorified mover today. He goes, it was his call in the field, and it was the right one. He goes, well, everyone was pulling more than their weight today. So Doc is embracing Cameron more. Cameron is keeping his foot out of his mouth. So I think in a crisis, everybody steps
see
up.
How long that lasts.
I know. Everybody's stepping up, and everybody's handling their business. And Doc's like, everyone is pulling their weight today, on and off the field. He's like, especially you and Kaya. Thank you. Thank you for your bravery. And as they use saline solution to wash out his wound. And just as Preacher's looking at Hope, he looks over her shoulder and gives a nod for her to turn around. And Liddy shows up. She goes, Liddy, it's about damn time. And she goes, what took you so long? And she goes, oh, I got lost on the trip down memory lane. She goes, luckily, Lizzie and Denny found me on their way to Birds. Now, this Jack's Bar, this place is full of people. Because remember, it's a command center. He's probably given out free food and water, and I'm sure they've got supplies of like blankets and different things that people need. They're there to get information. They're there to find out about the fire, to meet up with, people from all over town. That way, one single location so that people aren't lost. So then all of a sudden, everybody's phone starts to go off. And it's that Amber Alert chime, which tells everybody about the news. And
Yep, we're all familiar with that.
Yep, and Hope's like, they just issued an evacuation order for your zone. And Liddy's like, oh no. And she goes, Lizzie and Denny are still out there. So she's worried. So now we're back in Sacramento, and it looks like they're on a break or something. And Brie is looking very stressed. And so she's just taking a walk, taking a deep breath. The lawyer's talking to some of the other witnesses. And just as she's walking, she hears a familiar voice, and he says, of all the federal courthouses in all the towns in all the world, and it's Mike, and he's looking a little dapper in his suit and tie.
Mikey is in the house, people.
She's like, hey. He's like, are you testifying in a case? And he's like, you know it. He goes, what brings you here? She goes, same thing, actually. He goes, but we're on recess. I think I may have upset the judge with my candor. And he's like, what's the case? And she's like, it's, he goes, you know what? None of my business. Sorry. She goes, no, it's fine. I'm just, she's like, never mind. She goes, it's nice to see your face. And he's like, always nice to see yours. They both kind of like looking awkward. He goes, well, hey, give them hell and take no prisoners because that's my job. She's like, the lawyer calls over to Brie and says, Brie, can I talk to you for a minute? And she's like, yeah. He's like, Sheridan, you got this. And so they go their separate ways.
I mean, just have been the prep talk she needed.
She really did. She needed a familiar face, a little bit of encouragement. So that was really good. Now, in the meantime, remember that girl said her daughter's missing who's 6? And Jack and Brady went to go search because she probably ran off, got scared. So they're yelling through the forest, Hazel, your mom's looking for you. We're running out of time. And he's like, look, let's split up, And he's like, I don't know if we split up. He goes, I'm not leaving these woods without that little girl. He goes, we're going to do a ranging ground sweep together. Because, this is like military talk. They have like a way of doing things, and they both understand what that is, and they're gonna do it. They're gonna handle it. Now we are back at the clinic. Mel has finally got a few minutes to herself. Now she's in the kitchen. She's leaning up against the cabinet, the countertop, and she's not looking so good. She's looking very pale. She's looking a little unsteady. She's drinking some water, but she just doesn't look good. And Muriel walks in, who's looking just as fine as anything. I mean, she looks like she's ready to like paint the town red, white, and blue.
Well, that's usually Muriel's way of looking.
She's always ready. And Muriel's like, hey. She's always ready. And Muriel's like, hey. And Mel's like, hey. And Muriel's like, you look a little pale. When was the last time you ate? And Mel's like, I don't know. I think I had a cheeseburger and s'mores last night. Feels like ages ago, though. Now, everybody knows that she's pregnant. So Muriel is worried about her. She's like, you need to eat. So she goes over to the refrigerator and she's opened it up. She goes, is Ava in the waiting room? And Muriel's like, we're actually empty right now, so we can enjoy a proper lunch. She grabs a few things out of the refrigerator. And Mel's like, did she call? And Muriel's like, no, but service is, kind of spotty. And she goes, I'm not even sure my cell is working. And she goes, well, she was supposed to be here. It's been in 30 minutes ago, and it's been over an hour. She's like, so I'm going to go check on her, and Doc and Cameron should be fine while I'm gone. Muriel hands her some Tupperware, and she goes, at least take some turkey slices with you. She goes, you can wrap them around the cheese stick. She goes, thank you. She goes, you want me to go with you? And Mel's like, oh, no, I'll be fine. She goes, I mean, besides, the boys need somebody to look after them, right? And she goes, ugh, isn't that the truth? Those two alone, they'll burn the place down. And Mel kind of raises her eyebrows. And Muriel's like, okay, that was too soon, wasn't it? And they both kind of shake their heads. She goes, yeah, it was. Okay. She goes, pretend I didn't say that and come back in one piece. So Jack is coughing and Brady is coughing and they're still searching for this kid. Hazel. And they see the flames on the trees and everything is starting to catch. And he goes, man, it's getting hot around here. And one of the branches breaks and they both go down and Brady helps Jack up. So it's like, okay, all right. They're working together. This is good. So now we're back at the command center at the bar, and the fire chiefs are looking at the map, and Brady's checking out the map, and they're asking if there's any word. And Nick comes over to Liddy, and he's like, Liddy! He goes, how did you get here so fast? We just sent out the alert. She goes, well, I followed the original fire plan of my own volition. And he's like, Hope? He goes, okay, fine. I sent Lizzie and Denny out there. And he gets pissed. He's like, after I told you I'd handle it? He goes, you went behind my back and put lives in danger? And Liddy's like, well, if it weren't for them, I'd still be out there. He goes, yeah, but now they're out there. And we just got word that the cell towers are down. So unless they're listening in their car radio, they have no way of knowing they're in danger. I don't know Lizzie and Denny even know what a car radio is. And Liddy's like, can't you send somebody out for them? We can't do that now. You see, now it's too late. It's like the fire's somewhere between rank 4 and a rank 5, which means it's so bad that they're evacuating the firefighters. He says, all we can do is pray that they hope that we get them back safely. Oh, brother. Now Hope is pissed. Again. And she follows Nick. And he's like, Nick. And he goes, I'm sorry. He goes, Hope, that was a big mistake. A mistake that proves you're not fit to be mayor. Ooh, that was a low blow. And she's looking crushed. Now we're watching Denny and Lizzie drive on these roads that are totally smoke covered. You've got fire on both sides. They can barely see 20 feet in front of them. And I can't tell you how many times that during these fires that people will take video as they're trying to drive out as the fire's coming over them, and it looks exactly like this. They did a really good job of making this forest fire look really authentic. I have to say, I was pretty impressed with how authentic everything looks. And
that's good.
Lizzie's like, can you believe this? I've never seen anything like it. Because remember, she's from LA, and I don't even know, where is he from? Colorado or somewhere? So they're not used to stuff like this. But he's driving very slow and very carefully, and the both of them are looking freaked out. She's like, Denny, stop. Because just as she says that, a tree literally falls right in front of them. So now they're kind of blocked. And Lizzie's like, what do we do now? And Denny's like, we turn around. And they're like, well, what about Bert? And he goes, well, hopefully he already left. I don't think anybody's getting around this. So Denny, turns around to back up. And just as he's trying to do that, he tries to go forward. Or I should say, he turns around to go in the other direction and hoping that they can find their way out. Now we're back in the courtroom, and the judge says, I will ask you to disregard the defense's previous attempts to characterize Miss Sheridan's motives for being here today, because you may proceed, but no more theatrics from either of you, scolding both of the lawyers. So Dawn's lawyer, she's back at it. She's like, thank you, Your Honor. I will rephrase. Looking smug. She's like, Miss Sheridan, did your good friend, who just so happens to be the ADA, the Assistant District Attorney, tell you that her case against my client was weak and she needed more women to come forward to help solidify it?
Oh, Lord.
I know, right? And Brie's like, she told me my testimony could make a difference. But only after I told her I was planning to press charges of my own. She goes, to get back at Dawn. And she's like, absolutely not. She goes, I've been dumped plenty of times in my life. I've never gotten back at anybody by accusing them of rape. And the lawyer's like, so why didn't you report it 4 months ago then? Why wait until your friend brought a case against him? And Brie is looking very uncomfortable. And she kind of thinks about it. And she takes a deep breath. And she's like, honestly, because I was scared to do this. She goes, as we've established, I'm a lawyer. She goes, I know how cases like this go. Lawyers like you try to destroy women like me on the stand. So the jury won't believe one single word of my story. And his lawyer's like, well, now who's attempting to characterize whose motive? He's like, I think that you're saying that you didn't press charges before because you knew that if it was your own case, your story would never hold up in court. And Brie is looking kind of pissed as the lady's like, no further questions. So she's looking very irritated. So her lawyer's like, prosecution would like to redirect because you don't want to go out like that. You want to have the last word.
Exactly.
So she's got to get in there with a good last word. And she's like, I assumed you would. Of course, the judge knows that she was going to have to say something. He's like, proceed. Is that what you were saying? That you were scared to report because you were afraid your story wouldn't hold up in court? And Brie's like, no. She's like, no. What I was trying to say is that I didn't report it because I didn't want to sit here and be discredited by some defense attorney playing the hero to her client. I know how this goes. I've played the hero before. And, he's still sitting there with his stupid smug look on his face that you just want to smack right off of him. Ugh. Mm-hmm. She's like, I know how this goes. I've played the hero before. She goes, but now I know real heroes aren't well-paid, well-dressed lawyers making well-rehearsed arguments from the safety of their courtroom. Real heroes are the ones with the courage to do what's right, who walk toward the things most people would run away from. Now we're back in the forest, and Jack and Brady are still looking for this kid, and they're yelling her name.
This kid, good
I know.
Lord.
And they finally hear her scream, and they're like, there she is. It's like, good Lord. And they're like, Hazel, come on out. So Jack grabs his shirt, and he tells her to put it over her face. They pick her up. Brady picks her up, and they're running out of there. And they're like, you're all right. Now, at the same time, Lizzie and Denny look terrified as they're trying to drive out. Now, remember, they could only go so far because a tree fell down. They couldn't get all the way to Bert's. And so they turned around, and they're trying to head out the other way. In the background, you have Brie, who's continuing to testify. So we're seeing all this carnage of them being scared, driving through the forest, and Jack and Brady rescuing the girl. And Brie is still talking. And she's like, they're the people who push past their fears. And there's uplifting music in the background. And then we also see Mel, who's driving out to Lily's farm because Ava never showed up with Chloe. So she's worried about her. So Brie's continuing to talk. It's like a voiceover of what's going on with her, is sort of encompassing all the struggles that everybody's going through.
Right.
And so she says, who face the unknown. And as Mel looks up in the sky, she sees all the birds flying away and the smoke in the air. Now we're back at the clinic, and Doc is wrapping up the guy's leg, and the EKG starts to beep really fast. And he's like, uh-oh, his heart rate is spiking. We need to push fluids. And Cameron grabs the IV, and then we hear more of Brie. She goes, in the background, we see Hope looking at the smoke and Preacher coming up next to her, and they're both kind of looking at what's coming. And Brie is still doing her testimony, and she says, and hold on to their faith, even when the deck is stacked against them. And that fire smoke looks pretty bad. Preacher puts his arm around Hope, and they just stand there and look at it, hoping that it doesn't come to them. And Bree's like, and I hope, if you ever end up in my position, that you'll be able to hold on to your faith too. Because statistically, in a country where 1 in 6 women are sexually assaulted, and where more women are killed by their domestic partners in this century than men who have died in war, someday you just might.
Amen, sister. Amen.
And she's like, no further questions, Your Honor. Now the lawyer's looking uncomfortable, his lawyer.
Oh, yeah, because she knows those are the facts.
Yep.
It's not like Bree saying something that's not untrue.
Yep. Now she's walking out of court, and there's Mike, and he's got a cup of coffee. And she's like, don't you have somewhere better to be? He goes, well, thought I'd stick around and make sure you were okay. She goes, yeah, I am not okay. Not yet anyway, but for the first time in a long time, I think I might be soon. And he's just smiling because he's cute. He goes, well, if you ever want to talk about it, I'm happy to listen. She's like, I'd like that. And then her phone rings. She goes, yeah, it's my mom. Just 1 second. She goes, hey, Mom. She's like, what? What's going on? He goes, all right, okay, slow down. Okay, I'll be there as soon as I can. And she's like, there's a wildfire in Virgin River. So
No
now
shit.
we've got Jack and Brady. They finally make it back with this kid. Good Lord. He goes, a treetop exploded. She got scared. She was hiding. So they get them in the back of the truck. Everybody's loaded up. They lock it in place. He goes, okay, I'm going to follow you back to town. Thanks for having my back. He goes, well, thanks for having mine in Iraq, which is something he's really never acknowledged. So now everybody's phones are chirping again. Jack looks at it, and he's like, wildfire alert for Virgin River. And he also sees a text message from Mel, which is something that he probably wouldn't have even noticed if he didn't look at the phone for the alert. He would have totally missed that.
Yeah.
She's like, headed out to Ava's to check on her. Just wanted you to know I love you. Okay, so he's like, hey, Brady, listen, I gotta go. Mel might be in trouble. And he's like, okay, I'll meet you at the bar. So now Doc and Cameron are trying to deal with this guy's, he's coding. His blood pressure's crazy. His heart rate's too fast. He's flatlining, and they can't figure out what's going on. And they're like, okay, I'm going to start chest compressions. They put the bed down. Doc's doing the compressions, and Cameron's doing the breathing, and his heart rate's going crazy. So now we've got still Denny and Lizzie, and they're freaking out, and they're basically surrounded by fire. There's a car in front of them. They can't get through, and they can't go back because there was a tree blocking the road. And he's like, I don't know, what are we going to do? And she's like, I have no idea. And they just look terrified. They're basically going to cook like marshmallows if they don't hurry up.
Exactly.
So Mel is pulling up to Lily's farm, checking on Ava and Chloe, and she's like, oh my God, because what she sees is there's a lot of smoke around the house. It's literally right behind the house, and it almost looks like the house is on fire. And she's really worried, and she's yelling, Ava, Ava. She just pulls her car, doesn't even park, she just pulls it. She hears the baby crying. So she grabs a water bottle, and she grabs her bandana off of her face, puts water all over it, and puts it over her face so she can breathe when she goes in, because there's a ton of smoke. And that's where it ends.
And it ends there. Good Lord.
I know. It's like cliffhanger.
And they're notorious for that.
Yeah. Yeah, this one, I think this fire is 2 or 3. I think by the time it's done, from the first sign of fire until it's over, I want to say it's 3, maybe 4 episodes. They really worked it.
Yeah, I think so too. Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot going on. We've got the fire. We got where's Ava and Chloe, because they never showed up. We've got the guy who's flatlining. Bree's in the middle of a trial. Mel just looks like she's losing her baby. I mean, there's a lot happening. And just the amount of special effects and everything else is crazy. With all the fire and the smoke. I can only imagine filming that.
Yeah.
At the end of every day, they're like, oh my God, I feel like I've been, cooked in a barbecue, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, this is a pretty crazy season. So, oh my gosh. Well, we will continue the saga next time.
Yes, we will.
All right. Well, thank you, Gigi. And
thank you, Tracy.
We'll do this again.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. And we'll be back for the next episode. See you next time.
Au revoir.
Bye-bye.